Hello everybody on the eve of season 2023. Hello and welcome to our member Q&A with senior coach Alastair Clarkson, presented by Mazda. Clarko, exciting to have footy back again, and everyone's kind of been on the ride already, haven't they? Congratulations to you, but I think the entire football club for the access you've provided with Inner North. The 3 episodes I think have taken everyone on the journey across the pre-season, which has been very much the theme of your time here so far.
Yeah, well, it's an exciting time to be back involved with the footy club. You know, we've had a period, whether it's to do with COVID or whether it's to do with just our footy club and the dynamics, there's been a period of instability in everyone's lives, and we're hoping we can just get some stability and continuity with our footy club over the next little while. And important part of that is not just within the walls of our football club, but outside the walls of our football club, and sharing what's going on with our club with so many that want to follow us, and so that's been part of the initiative of trying to get us out to the general public a little bit more.
Let's get stuck into a few of these questions that have come through from many a loyal Kanga. We'll start with Giddy Stockman, who asks, what was or is the best thing about returning to Arden Street?
Yeah, well, I had a function that Peter Scanlon ran on Tuesday night, and to look out into the room and to see our faces and the connection from a bygone era, in a sense, for me. You know, I hadn't been at the club for over 20 years, and to still see the same people or generations of people connected to those that I knew still connected to the club, and that is a great beauty of this football club. It's not a huge club, but there's a special sort of uniqueness about it being smaller than some of the rest, and part of that is that you feel like you can be connected to the club and its journey, and that's what we're wanting to share as much as we possibly can. But it was great to walk back into the room and just see so many good North faces. Which
is probably a good segue into the next question from Wayne Lappin, which is, what is the shinboner spirit to you?
Well, shinboner spirit for me, I mean, it passes down through generations really, and it's very similar to Hawthorn with John Kennedy Senior, and those really earthy values that just pass down through generations from Kanga being involved in the 50s and 60s. Fortunately, my time at the footy club, Kanga was the coach, and he started to indoctrinate those sorts of things. But they were just the same sort of shinboner type of values that have been passed on through generations, just earthy values. People connect with them really easily because there's this sense of belonging, because the doors of the footy club are opened up to the general punter out there that loves the club and wants to be connected to something.
Samantha McNamara has asked, is there anyone standing out among the current lot of kids as potential next captains and leaders?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of guys underneath our current co-captaincy model where Luke and Jai, but they're just young in terms of they're very much in their infancy as captains of the club, and so you'd hope that they're going to have that role shared for at least 2, perhaps 3, 4 or 5 years. So we've got some time to see who emerges underneath those guys. You know, we've even got some guys that are similar ages. We're really pleased that those 2 guys are just ripe and ready to carry that mantle for the club right now, but we've got a whole heap of players underneath that we'll just spend some time just working out who's going to have the influence over our club over the long term.
Chris Simpson with a question about pick 3 in last year's draft, Harry Sheasel. Where do you see him playing most of his footy this season? He's very damaging up forward, but has elite ball use behind the footy as well. What is his position split going to look like?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a difficult one. It'll depend on the needs of the side really, and just how he's playing and where that opportunity might present for him. But we know that he can play both positions really well. He's actually played a lot of his junior footy as a midfielder as well. So he hasn't played an enormous amount of halfback, but it's a position where he reads the game so well. We saw that in a game over the last couple of weeks. So we'll work that out over the next little while. It's probably a little bit of both, to be fair, just to see where he settles the best, and hopefully he makes an important contribution for us, whichever position he plays.
Aaron Robinson asks about Tom Powell and his progression. Definitely has the ability to be a very impressive player with not much game time last year. Is he a guarantee to play round 1?
Well, he's had a really good summer. He's put on some bulk he's going into his 3rd year now. Together with Will Phillips, who I think came out of the same draft. So as you'd expect with young players, there's ups and downs in terms of opportunity or injury, or in Will's case, illness. So, but Powell's had a really good program over the summer, and no one can be given an absolute guarantee because you just don't know what's going to transpire over the next week. But he's at a good enough summer to put himself right in the mix for selection.
31 games, 18 of them coming last year. Chris Deverell, thanks for your question. It regards Jackson Archer, who's going into his second season. From all reports, was flying in the pre-season, but he's not on the injury list and hasn't played in any of the practice matches.
Yeah. Well, we've just pulled him back a little bit. But he's had a little bit of groin overload stuff over the last 3 or 4 weeks that he just done a mountain of work to get himself fit and ready to go. And if anything, he overtrained, and so which is a good habit to have, I might add. But with these young guys, if you with all this testing that we do particularly with their groins, we just want to make sure that they don't overburden themselves, especially being such a young player. So we've just held him back a little bit over the last 3 or 4 weeks. He hasn't technically been injured, but we knew that he was starting to. Strength tests and that sort of stuff were just starting to get to that level where we thought might need to give him a rest for a bit. So we've pulled him back a bit, and he's nearly ready to go again now.
Similar question from Troy Tarkin. Troy, thanks for your question. It regards how George Wardlaw's tracking, and what has impressed you the most about him so far?
Well, he's a real powerful player. He plays his footy that way, and he's really, really strong from his knees to his hips, and really good balance and stability. So that's what impresses us about him. But having said that, he's done very little training because of COVID and school footy and a whole heap of variables. He hasn't played a lot of footy over the last 24 months, and so we wanted to build that real core strength. He's naturally really, really powerful. But durability and being able to sustain those efforts over 120 minutes of football, he had some weakness there, and we've just pulled him back, and we've done a really, really strong block of about 8 weeks now, and he won't play round 1, but he'll be ready to go early in the season.
Andrew Bush asks, how do we fill the hole that Ben Mackay's leaving in the first few rounds?
Yeah, well, fortunately we recruited Griffin Logue, and we've got Aidan Core and Cal Dawson and some other players that can play that sort of role. I mean, it's always difficult when your key pillars in your back end succumb to injury, but that's the game. And we've always had the adage: you lose a soldier, replace him with another one. You just need a player that can step up, and I think we've got the depth to be able to do that. Ben's got an unfortunate injury, but we'll fill that role with someone else and see how we go.
Question from Rachel Peters: are you planning to coach from the box or ground level, or will you do a mix depending on the game? Yeah,
well, it'll probably depend on how we're going. I think at this stage of the development of the side, it's probably better them down on the bench. And at different stages I might need to go up to the box, but we've got a pretty experienced crew up there. Lee Adams obviously was the caretaker coach for a period last year, and we've got Brett Ratton on board. Johnny Blakey's been a long-term coach at both Brisbane and Sydney. So we got and Todd Viney sort of keeps them all in control up there. So I'm really comfortable with what the quality of the people we've got there. Observing the game and giving feedback to us on the bench, and hopefully I can have some sort of influence down on that ground level.
A couple of those winter days in Tassie, you might look more like Bill Belichick or Mike Tomlin. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't snow like it did in Canberra for you a couple of years ago. Brett Dingley with a question. Hi Clarko, I'm a big fan of Carnes. Can you tell us the impact she has had on the AFL team and a bit about her coaching role? And she's also been bestowed a new nickname, I think, by you too.
Yeah, we call her Groovy. She's been fantastic for us. She's been involved with particularly the academy section of the club. The younger players, the first 4 or 5 year players. She's been working with Corey Maynard in that role, and it's been of enormous assistance to those guys, and it's really good to have a female in the group. I mean, this has been a male-dominated industry for a long period of time, and just to have a different perspective, a type of guidance. She's been around footy clubs for a long period of time now. She's a country girl from Western Victoria, came from a great footy family, but once again, earthy values, great person, and just a different look at footy, different angle that our players have really, really respected, and we as a coaching staff too have really benefited from her wisdom and just looking at things from a different angle rather than just the male-dominated one, which has been pretty much our game for many a decade.
Couple more questions left in our member Q&A with senior coach Alastair Clarkson, presented by Mazda on the eve of season 2023. Clarko, Jared Brown asks, you've travelled around the world and have studied some of the best sporting organisations globally. What is the one thing that sets them apart, and what learning will you try and implement at the club?
Yeah, well, strangely enough, it's not so much a learning as just further evidence that it doesn't matter where you go in the world and how good the players are, unless it's an individual sport, not one person is going to get it done for you. Whether that's the star player, or whether it's a guy that just plays his role, or whether it's one of the coaches, or just everyone's got a role to play, and as long as we suppress our egos and just understand that it's about the collective rather than about the individual, that is the beauty of our game. You bring so many different people together, all chasing this dream of trying to win silverware, but recognising that not any one person is going to get it done for you. You need a whole group. And I spent time at the Golden State Warriors, and Steph Curry, who is the most marketable basketballer in the world, just about, and he realised, and the Golden State Warriors realised that if he was able to bring others along with him, like there was a player in their organisation last year, a young kid called Jordan Poole, who just emerged from nowhere. Andrew Wiggins emerged despite him being a really, really high pick. In fact, I think Wiggins was pick one, but Steph knew that with their talent, if they were given opportunity and to play their roles really, really well, then it would be the best thing for their side. And sure enough, that's what happened. They go on and win a title. So it was pretty special to see that despite his prominence as a player and how marketable he is as an individual, it's still about team.
A set of blue and white stripes made it over the Pacific to Steve Kerr yet?
Yeah, well, he and I have been mates for a long period of time. So yeah, I've been decking the blue and gold of Golden State, and yeah, when I do get a chance, the blue and white Guernsey will be going overseas.
Final question before we wrap up the member Q&A presented by Mazda. Alastair, it's from Jed Smith, who asks, will the players be allowed to wear long sleeves?
Yeah, well, it wasn't. It's a bit of a myth that was a rule that I never mentioned in my whole time there. They somehow just early on there was this perception that if you're playing at Hawthorn you won't wear the long sleeves. Part of it is that the Hawthorn long sleeve Guernsey wasn't a great looking Guernsey. It looked more like a bumblebee than anything else. But no, that's players' choice. It always has been and always will be.
Take that as a yes, Jed. Alastair, to you, the coaching staff, the players, and the entire footy club, good luck for season 2023. It all starts at Marvel next Saturday against the West Coast Eagles. Go well.
Yep, can't wait. Thanks, mate.